This is Life Looks Now podcast. I'm the host, Monique Nicole, and the guest I have today is Sabine. She's a physician assistant. She's also my friend. And so, yeah, just introduce yourself, tell, the people a little bit more about you, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Okay, so as you said, I'm Sabine. I've been a physician assistant for the past 12 years. I work primarily in internal medicine. So basically, you're PCP. So I'm the main point of contact, I should say the first point of contact when you're setting up your appointment. And I also do focus on holistic health. So I encourage my patients as well to make a lot of lifestyle changes to improve their health.
Okay. So, how did you, what led you to going into the medical field, and then what led you to go becoming a physician assistant? I don't hear you. You went out.
Health.
Okay, that's better.
Okay. Yeah. So since I was a young kid, I always said I wanted to be in the medical field. I did say I wanted to be a doctor. In college, I ended up changing my mind so many times. So by the time I graduated, I didn't feel like sitting in med school for the amount of time that it was going to take me because I was a little bit older. So I did look into the physician assistant field, and I did have a family member that was also a PA, and I love what she did, and I applied and I got in, and then that's how I became a PA.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Did you ever want to just go all the way, or it was, just kind of happened that way? So that makes sense that you were older and you just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, what about your educational background? What school did you go to?
So I did my undergrad at the University of Miami, and then I did the PA program at Miami-Dade College in Miami. So
Oh,
overall, it took about 6.5 years, almost
okay.
seven,
Okay,
seven
that's.
years of schooling. That's a lot.
I mean, I feel like
It's a
people
lot
don't
for
think about
me.
that. Yeah, that's a lot for me because honestly, I didn't like school too much.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
like some of the hardest part of just learning and just, I guess, perfecting your skill and your craft? Because personally for me, I went to a massage therapy school, right? And I was a massage therapist for like 5 years. And I'm like, am I in medical school? Like, what is, like, we were learning muscles, bones,
Yep.
nerves, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to massage people. Like, why am I learning all this stuff? So I can only imagine like what is actually in your head. So, like, what was some of the things that you found challenging or, interesting
During school or after?
during school?
During school, I mean, I enjoyed it for the most part. The only thing that was kind of challenging was trying to balance learning all the information at a fast pace.
Hmm.
Um, you're just going from topic to topic, then you're getting tested, then you have, live presentations when they're grilling you about like what to do for the patient. And then, when you're in school, like you don't know anything. You're learning the material, but you don't actually apply the material until you start working. But in school, you're really just trying to do well, grasp the material as best as you can. But you really have to have like a lot of time management. So yeah, I think that was probably like the most challenging part of it. But otherwise, if you're really dedicated in what you're doing, and if you really have a passion for what you're doing, then you're gonna apply yourself and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was I gonna ask you? It was right on my brain. Um, Gosh, it was just like right there. I just forgot what you were talking. I'll move on. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I know what I was gonna ask you. How many people of color were in your class? Did you feel like you were a part? Did you feel like welcome? Did you feel like you belonged there? Like, what was the atmosphere like at that time?
Well, I did feel like I belonged, but I will say when I applied, and I probably say every class before, after me, it's a small percentage of minorities,
Yeah.
especially Black providers. And you can see that across the board. Even people who go to med school, it's not that many. And I don't know why that is, but listen, if I'm trying to get in somewhere, I'm going to apply myself. I'm going to fight for my spot. And, I just really don't want to, I don't want others to get discouraged by that just because, they're Black or a minority, that they have a lower chance. You still
Hmm.
have to give it your best shot. Because if it's really something that you want to do, then, I believe in God. So I know that whatever my purpose is, God is going to make a way for me. And that's what I did. I applied and I got in.
Yeah, I
But it
agree.
wasn't many. It wasn't that many.
Yeah. So when you actually get out into the field, um, did you ever feel did you ever feel like you were challenged because you were the minority?
Not at all, actually, because I mean, I did my rotations in Miami,
Hmm.
Miami and Broward. So it's like a melting pot of different combinations of people. So I didn't have that experience. I had a positive experience with all my preceptors.
That's good.
Um, well, I mean, some of them were a little, but nothing like prejudice or racist or
Yeah,
anything.
just
No.
personality, just yeah,
Right,
own
right.
personality. Yeah, that's everywhere anyway. So,
Exactly.
um, so okay, so walk me through like okay, so when you were in school, were you how old were you at that time? Were you still in your
Mm,
20s or
yeah.
30?
I was in
Okay.
my 20s. I think I started school at 27,
Oh, you started
26
at
or
27.
right. I started PA school at 27 or 26, one of them. But it was like
Oh,
towards the ending part of my 20s.
oh, okay. So that's why you said you were older.
Yeah, I was not going to sit in med school for 8 more years and be done at 40. I'm like, no, I'm
Oh,
not
it would
doing
have
that.
been 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, it would have been 4 years of med school and then whatever specialty that you want to go into, then the additional years, they vary.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your I guess what would you say is like your specialty or what you deal with the most or what type of patients do you deal with the most?
Okay, so basically in primary care right now, I see a lot of patients with chronic conditions. I manage them. So hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, all of that. So all the main chronic conditions, that's what I manage. And if the patient needs like a specialist, then I refer them out to the specialist, but I'm kind of like the home base where I manage everything. And then I can refer out to different providers, and then the patients come back to me and then I just continue to manage that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's super important because especially in our community, like my father, my father passed away
Yeah.
and he had a heart condition that honestly I didn't find out that he had until later on because he was like very private about it. Like that older generation, they're usually like very private. They keep things to themselves. They just kind of deal with it on the hush. And so I remember one time he called me and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna need you to come to the hospital." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Oh, they're just doing like a little surgery." And I'm like, "What?" Like a little surgery. And so he went to the doctor and the doctor basically told him, like, "Oh, you need to go into surgery right now." So he left the doctor's office to go to the hospital to get ready to do surgery.
So
And
that's
so
an emergency.
exactly, so that's how I found out that he had a heart condition. And I was just like, "Why didn't you tell me this? This is crazy." Um so anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's super important because once it did get to the point where it was like I couldn't do anything about it, even when he was basically non-responsive in the hospital, that I had limited options because of
Wow.
his heart. Yeah, so if I would have taken him into surgery, he would have passed away. It was just
Right.
one of those things. So I just said, well, it's better to let him just be at peace, and just,
Right.
you know. So
Right.
it's definitely important, and is what you're doing is super important because so many people just disregard it, just don't take it serious. I
Right.
think that people
Yeah.
do that.
Well, it's hard, you know. I don't know. I think I always say there's like two types of patients, right? So there's the person that will have any little thing that they feel they're running to the doctors. And then you also have a large amount of patients that have problems and they just sit and they don't go, they don't come in. And then it's not until like it's really bad or they feel really bad, then they come in. And then that's when you find this, all these conditions, all these problems that could
Mhm.
have been taken care of prior to, but it's just
Yeah,
that the patients just neglect, or sometimes they're just scared. Or they're just like, oh, let me try this tea that my grandma told me I could do. I get that all the time. Listen, stop making concoctions in your kitchen. Well, you can, but go get
yeah.
it checked first and then find out what it is and then make your concoctions if that's what you want to do.
Right, right.
But yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think like prevention is like a big thing. Like when somebody comes to see me, like I'm gonna sit down and we're gonna talk. Like we're gonna figure out what's going on with you, what you can do. Like I feel like nobody's ever stuck with anything. Like even if you have bad results, even if something is going wrong, there's always a way to fix it or to improve your situation. You just have to come in. So that's why it's important to find a provider, that's willing to sit there and talk to you, that's not rushing you out the door, that has time to answer your questions because those things are very important.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think every time I've gone to the doctor or every time I've taken my child to the doctor, I just feel like I'm waiting for a long time. And then when they do come, like you could tell the ones that are like kind of antsy and then the ones that will like sit down and seem like they're still
Yeah.
actually like engaged. But there's definitely those that's just like standing up like they're ready to like just check out really quick, and it's just
That's
like,
horrible.
yeah, I've experienced that, and it's
Yeah.
just it's like this is the person that I'm putting my health in their hands, and they're just trying to like brush me off. So yeah, that's happened when I've taken my daughter to the doctor. um and when I've gone to the doctor before, I've seen people do that. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
mainly happens at hospitals though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much like primary offices.
Okay.
How do you incorporate, and I guess we'll get deeper into it later, but how do you incorporate the holistic side or your passion for the holistic medicine with the westernized medicine? You went out, can't hear you. Nope, I can't hear anything. Nothing. Nope. Mm-mm. Just completely blank. No. I don't know what it could be. I don't hear anything on your end. You're on mute right now. It says your mic's on mute.
Do you hear me now?
There you go.
I just took it off and put it back on.
Okay. All right. So what I was asking before your technical issues
Hmm.
occurred, I was asking you, how do you integrate your medical experience with the holistic side?
Right. So it's basically it's not a one-sided approach. So it's based on each individual patient that I see. So it depends on what's going on with them. So let's say I see a lot of patients that are just newly diagnosed with diabetes or pre-diabetic. So those patients, depending on the patient and the conversation that I have with them, I give them options. So I give them the natural remedies, the holistic remedies that they can do if they want to do that for about 3 months. Or I also give them the option if they want to start medications and then retest in 3 months. So it doesn't apply for everyone, but even anyone that has a chronic condition, I also give them, even if you're taking medication, there's always something that you can do in addition to just taking medication. So
Mm-hmm.
I give them those options as well. So I never just let the patient leave with just a prescription. I educate them, which is a big thing. You have to educate the patient and let them know what else they can do in addition to, or what else they can do to possibly wean themselves off of meds. So that's usually my end goal, is to like wean people off, because I'm seeing patients younger and younger with diabetes, hypertension, and I'm like, look, you're so young. Like, do these things. Like, start incorporating these types of foods in your diet. Avoid these foods.
Right.
It requires this much physical activity to get to your goals. And I tell them, you have 3 months. When you come back in 3 months, I don't threaten, but I'm like, look, your stuff your stuff better be right, because this is your life. Like, like I care about what's going on with you. You have to
Right.
care too. So, once that conversation happens, you're serious, and then they make the change, and most of them come back and they do well.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people, make changes and they end up actually not even taking medications, or some people I end up cutting down their medications. So it's all about the person's willingness to, put in the effort in whatever it is that they're.
Yeah. That makes sense. I've never gone to the doctor honestly, and they've ever recommended anything holistic or natural, or it's just prescribed prescriptions, or yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So how do you um I'm trying to find the right word. Do you need permission to do this, or this is just something that you have free reign to do, but people just don't do it?
You mean the patient? Or
No.
like in the offices, like the providers?
Right, the providers, like, is this a option that you have at where you particularly work, or
Hmm.
like, is this something that I guess across the board that people have free reign to do in the medical field and they just don't do it? Or is
Right.
this
So,
something that
yeah.
you're kind of like, I guess walking on the line, like on the edge, I guess.
No, not
What would
really. I'm gonna always put my patient first. I don't care what the insurance company. Well, let me not say that because I want to. I
she
do
cares?
care, but my patient comes first. Okay, so my patient's well-being comes first. So it's my job to give you all the information. I'm just
Right.
providing you with the information and options that you have. So that's not going to apply for
Yeah.
someone who's like has like high blood pressure and it's like very high all the time. Like holistic, it may help, but you're also going to have to be medicated. It has to be done safely. But why providers don't choose to, give the information as to alternatives, what options you can do. Let's take cholesterol for an instance. So
Hmm.
you can put a patient on cholesterol medication depending on how high it is and what other conditions they have. Or you can also let them know what else they can do at home to lower their cholesterol naturally. So it's really just patient education and taking to the time to go like the extra step so that the patient can like do a combination of the two, one or the other, depending on what they have going on. I don't know why
Right.
other people don't do it. Maybe they just don't know, or they just following the Western traditional way and just here, take this prescription and
Yeah.
then come back in 3 months and then we'll see you again. And the person
Yeah.
is going to end up with 30 pills on their table by the time they're like 55. Every day they're going to be taking 10, 11, 12 pills. Like my mom, that's what she had to do. I try to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that people would do that, but that's not what's happening when you go when you go to the doctor. Nobody is saying, you know what, do this, take this pill, but then also, do X, Y, Z. There's a few people that might, but they're not
Mhm.
really going into detail like that with every patient. It's just, do you have your own office or do you work under, some type of provider or system?
Right. So as a PA, you do have to have, you're under the medical director. So there is a medical director. He's there some days, but I'm primarily in the office. There's another office. There's a second office as well. So he goes back and forth between the two. It's just there for collaboration, basically. But he's just the director of the whole clinic. But for the most part, I see the patients Monday through Friday, majority of the patients. So, I know I've been there for maybe 8 years, 7 years. So I kind of know everybody. I know what they have going on. So, yeah.
Okay.
So they're my patients.
So nobody is like telling you like, "Well, just don't do all of that. Just
They would not be telling me just don't do that. Nobody's going to tell me that. Well, at least not over there because no. Why would you not want me to educate the patients? That's silly.
right, right.
No. I mean, I could see where that could be a problem somewhere else.
Hmm.
And, I don't know. I do what's best for I do what I would want someone to do for me if I had something going on. Give me all the details and give me all the information so I can help myself. Because when the
Right,
patient leaves the office, they're going to be at home, know, 90% of the time. They come see you 10% of the time. So they're the ones doing the work at home. They need all the information so that they can improve their health.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I noticed. Okay, so normally you're very private on social media, and then all of a sudden you pop out. You're like on TikTok. You're doing your little workouts. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
You
gosh.
I'm laughing. You're doing your workouts, you're doing your smoothies and all that stuff. Did this
Yep.
just did you just have a lifestyle change or were you already doing this behind the scenes and then you just started to show it? Which one?
Yeah. Yeah. I was always doing it.
Uh,
I was always doing it. Yeah, I'm kind of consistent. So I always do it. But sometimes, I post, I am private and I don't really care for social media like that to post everything. I wish I could be more consistent. I think that would help me. But I just post my videos because I kind of want to motivate other people. Like sometimes, like one of our other friends, she's like, "Oh, when I saw you working out, it made me want to go work out." I didn't know that. I was like, "That's great." And
mhm.
someone else had reached out. She was like, "Oh, I didn't feel like working out, and I saw you at the gym, so I went." So I feel like it's helpful, to post those things. But I don't know. I wish I could be a little bit more consistent. I'm gonna try this year, but
Yeah.
I practice what I preach. I don't tell my patients, listen, stay away from Chick-fil-A and fast food, and then I'm at Chick-fil-A every day eating it. Like I do what I tell them to do. If I'm telling you don't eat late at night, I'm not eating late at night. So I practice what I preach.
Okay, because I was wondering about that.
No.
Maybe I'm just judgmental, but I was just wondering, like, okay, was she always doing this, or did she just like all of a sudden just get this feeling to start working?
No, and I had to do it because, it's just like it's important to, when you look at your family history and you see like all the things like your parents and your aunts and your uncles go through, like if you don't shape your stuff up,
Hmm.
you're next. Like the diseases will creep up on you just like they crept up on them. So it's not
Yeah.
like sometimes our genes, even if, we don't exactly have the same diseases, but the genes, they carry a type of risk. So if I have 4 or 5 people in my family with diabetes and high blood pressure, if I just sit around all day and do nothing, I'm gonna be affected too. So I'm just being proactive,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Just wondering.
which I'm encouraging you.
I'm
You
I
need to also.
Yeah, I started back working out recently,
Okay.
this year. Because last year I was very sketchy with it. I was just like off and on. And then the year before that, well, it was like 2022, I stopped working out because that was when I lost my business. My dad passed away. It was just like a lot going on, and I just did not
Yeah.
have motivation to work out or anything like that. So I had to
Mhm.
kind of like get my mind there. And then so this year I said, okay, I'm back. I'm going to, work out and, be more health conscious. So that's why I decided to launch this podcast, because I actually had the concept for it last year, but I wasn't dedicated.
That's okay.
Wasn't dedicated. So I said, okay, I'm gonna post this and start talking about health and all this stuff, and I'm not doing it. So, like you said, I want to practice what I preach. I don't want to just bring people on and talk to them about all this stuff that I'm not even, trying to do. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
yeah. Um, what's some of the challenges that you may have faced, I guess, in your career that may have been discouraging, or just anything challenging that you've experienced?
Definitely a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
When I first started, it was so rough. The first job, it made me have thick skin, but then it really made me question if I really could be a PA. I was like, is this what a PA is like? I was just really stressed. I was on call. There was some things going on in the office. And I will say that that's the place that I got my foundation, which is my training. Like
Mm,
the doctor that I trained under, my first job out of school, she was very she was very anal, and she did things by the books, and she checked everything, and I'm very grateful to her for that. Because it just taught me to be very thorough in everything that I'm doing for each patient.
right.
But it was also very stressful for me because the patients were nasty and they were mean and they're like, "You look like you're 12."
Oh,
And it's like, "I know I'm not seeing you today." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh." And
oh my,
I was just like so shy and introverted. It was just really like a shock for me.
right.
But I just had to learn how to maneuver around that. And it's like with growth and with experience, you build your confidence. And then like it doesn't matter how you look, if they think you look 15 or 30 or whatever, it's really about what care you're giving them, if they believe what you're saying, and if you're really giving them that good quality care. So
Hmm.
that was the most, that was the growing pains of me, and the most challenging parts of me being a PA.
Right.
But other than that, once I got my experience, the other challenges that came is just like working for some companies where they would put money in front of the patient. And I just started to feel so bothered by that because,
Mm.
they just wanted to. I mean, I will give you an example. I'm not going to say who or where.
No, yeah, of course.
But I was working at a clinic and there's a patient that came in and he was having like textbook heart attack symptoms. Like he was lunched over saying his chest hurts. And I
Hmm.
was just like, get this guy to the ER immediately. And
Hmm.
then he went to the ER, thankful to God, he did come back. He did have a heart attack.
Hmm.
But then they called me in the office. I remember management and then the owner called me in the office and they were like, Why did you send the patient to the emergency room before checking them in? We didn't even have any copay to collect. We could have did an EKG for them. So they were worried about money that they lost for billing. And I'm just like, there's nothing you could have done even if we did bring him in. It would have been time wasted. So I was
Mhm.
just like, why do you guys care about just like you guys are worried about the dollar? What if this was like your uncle or your family member? Would have, would you want them to be in a situation where they could have permanent damages to their heart because you're wasting time having the patient sit in a clinic that is not equipped to handle any type of heart attack? That he needed
Right.
to be seen at the ER and that's where he went. So I was just like, whatever. I was like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah. So you
But I did leave after that.
verbalized that? You verbalized that to them, or it was just something you were thinking?
I didn't say anything. I was just like, I can't believe these people. But it was something that I was thinking about, and I ended up leaving there because I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and gamble with people's lives. Like, this is somebody's life. Like, I
Right.
understand you have to run your business, but there's some things like you just don't negotiate. I'm not negotiating patient safety and life and death situations for you to get paid off of an EKG reading or something.
Right. Yeah. I
No.
love that. Yeah. I mean, you definitely, I mean, you have to be ethical, and
Yeah.
have
Mm-mm.
integrity.
Exactly.
It- It's not worth it. Um,
No.
what else did I want to ask you about? Oh, I wanted to ask you about your work-life balance. So, because you have kids, how many kids do you have?
Two, and
Two.
that's it.
That's enough, honestly.
It sure is.
I have one, and it's like having three. So, I don't blame anybody that just says, "Okay, stop."
Yep, yep.
But yeah, but you're married, you have
Mhm.
kids, and you have this, pretty intense job. So
Yeah.
how do you balance all of that?
Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. But I did realize like in the last year, like I have to take breaks, I don't care if you pay me or not, peace
Mhm.
out. Like,
Yeah,
you have to, working in healthcare for such a long time, it can be mentally exhausting. So it's important to take breaks. Sometimes the balance is not all there. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's perfect. It's not.
yeah,
Sometimes we're struggling over here, and my husband's like, oh, your job is like taking part. I'm like, I'm
yeah,
doing the best I can.
yeah,
And then sometimes I feel like a bad mom too, like if the kids are like struggling in school, I was like if I had more time that I could, be there. But it's just finding that balance. And then sometimes too I have to ask and adjust my schedule. So that's one thing that I also made changes to last year was adjusting my schedule so that I have more free time to be able to
mhm,
manage that balance.
yeah. It is hard being a working mom, and I can imagine like on top of that you add a husband to it who has his needs
Hmm.
and his
Yeah.
wants his attention, and
Yeah.
so you know, and one thing I did learn too, well, when I had my restaurant, I lost a lot of time with my child that I didn't realize I was
Yeah.
losing, because when I had actually before the restaurant opened, I was pregnant. So by the time I actually gave birth to her, the restaurant was open. So she literally grew up in the restaurant. I mean, I used to have like little cribs for her in the restaurant sometimes. Like
Wow.
she grew up in the restaurant. But it was times where as she got older, I can't have her walking around and she can't be walking around in the kitchen. And so I would lose a lot of time with her because she had to be with other people. And I realized that after I closed the restaurant, how much time I actually lost. Like, I don't know my child. I don't know why she's acting
Yeah.
like this. I don't know what is it that what's her emotional needs. Like, I didn't understand any of that. I had to learn it because I lost so much time with her. So it is really hard to balance, trying to strive and be successful and then all these other components, you know. And so when you come home from work, like what's the first thing you do when you come in through the door to try
I
to
go hide. Yeah, I take like a 5 minute break.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember, like people, when I'm at work, people are talking to me all day long.
Mhm.
The phone rings, they want to speak to me directly. I'm talking to patients. Sometimes I feel like overwhelmed with like sound. But I
Yeah.
come in like my kids are really good kids. They're not,
Yeah.
they're doing what they're doing. My husband too. He's laid back for the most part. So
Yeah.
I just come in, I take a break, and then I take like maybe 30 minutes to myself, and then I just go see what's going on. Like, is there food left? Is it one of my workout days? What do I have to do? And then I help the kids with the homework. It's
Mhm.
it's really not that bad. And then sometimes the kids have activities, so me and my husband split the days in the week. So one day
Mhm.
he takes them, and then the other day I do. So it's not bad. It's pretty balanced right now. It's pretty
Okay,
balanced.
so what about like husband time? Like, do y'all have date nights? Like, do you, and how often do you do date nights? Do you do it like once a week, or try to do maybe other week, or how do you balance that?
Yeah, so that was actually lacking a lot. So we just started incorporating more date nights. It's not
Yeah.
once a week, it's not once every two, it'd be like once a month.
Yeah.
But we're working our way towards that. And,
Yeah.
like I try to sit out there and, we just talk,
Mhm.
have conversations. He's into health and fitness and wellness now too. So he tells
That's
me what
good.
he's doing. So, yeah, the conversation is there every day. So we do have quality time for the most part. The
Mhm.
date nights, we're working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What time do you get home usually? Like around what time?
I usually get home like around 4, sometimes 3:30, but
And you
usually
go
around
to bed at what
4. I go in at 9. So I adjusted my
time?
schedule. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Before it was longer, and I was just like, I can't because I was just getting burnt out. But I just leave a few hours early because I can chart at home. I see majority of my patients in the morning, and then I chart for the rest of the afternoon, so I can finish my charts at home if I need
Oh,
to.
okay. Okay. Like I always hear people talk about charting. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's the worst. Well, it's just documenting, charting
Yeah.
is basically documenting everything you did. So you go into the room and you talk to the patient, that's great. But then you have to go back to your computer for every patient. You put in your orders, you write what the patient was telling you what the problem is. Then you have to, input the physical exam, what you found, what is your
Mhm.
plan for the patient, and then what medications did you send? You have to send them in. And if there's a lab order, you put in the lab order, so it can be quite timely. It's, let's say if you're seeing 20, 50, or 20 patients a day, it's a lot. It takes a while. So
Yeah.
I
So
hate
how do you
charting.
remember that? Like, okay, if you bring it home, but how do you remember who you spoke to, what was said? What's the
I
process?
have great memory.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, it's all memory. It's all memory. The thing is just like it's so repetitive. Like after 10 years of doing the same thing, I remember everything. So it's just I go home, like for the most part, there's minimal input in the chart already. It's not blank. So I
Mhm.
already have a general idea of what they came for, but I can remember what I did. Yeah, I remember what I did and what I have to do. It's just
And how many
repetition.
patients do you see in a day?
Uh, a lot. No, sometimes it's like 15.
Uh-huh.
Like Friday was 20. Sometimes it's like 12. Sometimes like 12 to 15. And then sometimes on the busy days, like 20 or
That's crazy. I would never remember that.
20. Yeah. I mean, it's the same. These patients, I've been seeing them for years, so I already know
Yeah,
them.
you
So
know
yeah,
them.
it's not that bad. Yeah.
That makes sense because I can't remember. Every morning I lose my phone. Every morning I lose my keys, and I'm like, Khalil, where's my keys? I don't know. Let me help you find. I
Oh gosh.
it's bad.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve. I can't stand looking for stuff. I'd be like, if you move my stuff, put it right back where you got it from. I can't stand looking for stuff. That's why I put my stuff. I don't lose my stuff, so I'm
Yeah,
pretty organized with that.
yeah. I need to get better because it's like I'm realizing my brain is just not what it used to be. It's
Yeah,
different.
it
I
is.
41 and it's like I don't remember anything.
Uh-oh, it takes some B vitamins.
Yeah, I know, right? That's one thing I need to start incorporating, like all my vitamins, because
Hmm.
I did try to do like a vegan diet. Um, I think it was the end of last year that I did it,
Hmm.
and I was about to pass out, girl. I was just like, I am going to end up dying trying to be vegan. Like this is not gonna work. And my mom brought me these vitamins, and so I felt better. And
That's
then I felt
good.
better too when I ate like protein, fake
Mm-hmm.
protein meat and things like that, and that helped.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if I could take on a full vegan diet.
Right. So, I mean, I always say like you have to do what works for you.
Hmm.
If you do plant-based, or if you're doing vegan, you like your food has to be prepared. If you're just trying to wing it, you're gonna be hungry and starving and eating chips and fries and like, okay, you're not gonna have the nutrients you need and your energy's gonna go down. It
Right,
can it be done? Yeah, if you do the proper meal planning and then you have like the proper foods that you're preparing that's gonna give you proteins, carbs and fats. But if not, it's gonna be a struggle for sure.
right. I realized that fast. I think I did it for about a month, and I felt
Okay.
good. After that first week, and me realizing what I needed in my body, then I was able
Mm-hmm.
to do better with it. And I did it for about a month. But what happened was I went to a family event, and of course, nobody in my family is like, they had fish, they had ribs, they had everything I love. I couldn't do it. I had to eat at least a piece of fish.
Okay.
So
Well,
that broke my diet after that.
okay. And then after that, you just said you just gonna quit altogether.
After that, I went back. I reverted back to everything.
Oh my gosh.
I reverted back because it was just like, now I got this meat in my system again, and it's just like my body is just craving it.
Craving it.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
did a detox. At first I detoxed, and then
Hmm.
I switched the diet so I could hopefully kind of like have my body just forget about me, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that worked, but I just saw it online.
It does work. It does work. The thing is with the plant-based, like I did plant-based for like a year or two, and it
Oh,
was good. But then, just you have to work with whatever your body's telling you. So I was deficient in some areas, and I did incorporate fish later on. Like after the few years, I incorporated fish,
mm-hmm.
and it was fine. But not every lifestyle change or every diet is going to work for you. You just have to figure out what's going to be best for you, what you're working on, what you're trying to improve, and then you go from there. But it's
Right,
really good because it lowers your cholesterol. The more plants you eat, the lower your cholesterol is. You lower your chances of heart disease. So those things are important. But you can always do 3 days a week. You just eat plants, and then the rest of the 4 days you have some kind of fish or meat, and that's fine too. That's a good healthy balance as
right.
well.
Yeah. Okay, I think I got all the questions. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you before you go. Been here an hour now, so I just wanted to ask you about just like the tech changes in the world and how that affects your job, like
Mhm.
AI and all these different things. Do you guys experience any differences and changes with what you have to do in the new technology that's coming?
Not necessarily. What do you mean? I think just maybe like on the patient side, they come in and they're like, look, I looked this up on Chat GPT and it told me this, this, and this, which I like that. I like when patients ask questions, so I encourage questions. So I think it's fine.
Oh, okay.
But like on the medicine office
Mhm.
side, no, not really.
Not
It
really.
hasn't really changed anything. The insurance companies run the show, so it doesn't matter what AI tool is out there.
Wow,
You just have to, yeah,
that's crazy.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Mhm.
Whew.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on.
You're
Um,
welcome.
is it anything that just a message that you want to leave with us before you go? Have at
Yep.
it.
Yeah. So I want to encourage everyone who's listening, just for the new year, establish your baseline. So go get your labs done, get your annual labs. Make sure you get a copy. Always ask for a copy of your results and be proactive in your health. Make sure that you understand what's going on with your body. If you don't, ask questions. Men, go get screens. Stop hiding from the doctor's office. Um, Women, go in, get your mammograms and pap smears. You just always have to, take the proactive approach in taking care of your health. Because I know this podcast is health, wealth, and connections, but your health is your wealth. If you have money and you're sick, it means nothing. So
Mm.
take care of your body first, and everything else will follow.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I know you have a busy week ahead of you, so get some
Yeah.
rest.
I sure will.
Thank you for coming on. I'll probably take this live down and edit it because we had so many
Okay.
issues,
I
but
know.
I'll post it.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll
All
be
right.
ready sometime this week.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
All right. Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.